Welcome to the Real Comic Heroes Podcast. Your adventure into the world of comic book movies starts here.
Greetings, citizens, and welcome to another adventure of the Real Comic Heroes Podcast. I'm Travis.
And I'm Patrick. Oh, it's a glorious day.
Oh yeah, why is that?
Because we get to talk about characters that I may or may not know.
It's always fun, yeah.
More on the may not. I think we've used up a lot of the top tier ones.
Yeah, I was
that many left.
thinking about that. We've got. I'm looking at our list of kind of like what's available. There's still a couple towards the top. I don't know.
Yeah,
but yeah, I feel like we don't have that many left out of the list of 100. So it should be interesting to see who we've got remaining. Want to jump into the first one?
Sure.
Okay. Looks like it's going to be number 28.
Okay.
And
feeling good.
Number 28, Swamp Thing.
Hey, I remember that guy.
Yeah. We did a couple episodes on his...
That was a decent movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The first one, anyways.
Yeah, the second one, it was a sequel.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of Swamp Thing, so this is exciting. He goes back to Swamp Thing number 1 from November of 1972. He was around for quite a while, just as the scientist who got turned into a swamp monster, and then in the 80s, Alan Moore, who wrote Watchmen and V for Vendetta and stuff like that, like he got his hands on Swamp Thing and really completely changed the character. He came up with this concept of he didn't create the concept, but he used the concept of like the planarian worms, which are worms that you can train them in a lab to like run a maze or figure out a maze, and then you can feed, like you can basically cut their brain tissue up, feed it to other planarian worms, and they will then be able to run that maze. So it's like, it's this concept that you can, that information can be absorbed, Yeah. So he took that concept and kind of applied that to Swamp Thing and made it so that Alec Holland didn't transform into the Swamp Thing. The swamp itself absorbed his his brain, essentially, and the swamp then thought it was Alec Holland for years. So for years, the Swamp Thing thought he was essentially Alec Holland transformed. But then, like Alan Moore's second issue, which it remains to be my favorite single issue of a comic book ever, is because he reveals that he isn't Alec Holland. He's just the swamp who thought it was a man. So really cool concept. It's a great issue. It's called Anatomy Lesson. So, but I've read all of Alan Moore's run on Swamp Thing. He did, I don't know how many issues, but from like the mid 80s to the late 80s, kind of one long continuous saga of the Swamp Thing. And then
that's weird when you say that. That makes it confusing in my brain, because to me a swamp is where like criminals dispose bodies. So I'm just picturing the swamp having like multiple personality disorder or something.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool.
And it constantly thinks it's other things.
Yeah.
And, like, it's just.
Well, I think it was
weird hive mind.
Yeah, I think it was unique to him because his body was covered in chemicals because he was working on this.
So there's still that piece. Okay.
Yeah, he was working on. I think it was almost like a super soldier kind of thing, or turning plants into soldiers or something like that. And when the person that killed him, he got chemicals splashed all over him, set on fire, and then he ran out into the swamp, like a lot like what we saw in that movie, except they didn't really make a big deal out about the chemicals that he was covered in, I don't think, but.
Gotcha.
But yeah.
Okay, so the chemicals plus him falling into the swamp. I get it. Okay.
Right. Had it been, another guy who just got killed and dumped into the swamp, the same thing wouldn't have happened. It was
Gotcha.
It was unique because of the chemicals. So
Okay. Yeah, because I thought Swamp Thing at some point turned into almost like a god,
Yeah, like
like
right.
a Earth god or something.
So I got back into Swamp Thing in the DC New 52, and I think it was Jeff Lemire was writing it, or Charles Soule, one of them, and they came up with the idea that that Swamp Thing, Alec Holland, or Swamp Thing, who thinks he's Alec Holland, regardless, like he's the avatar of the Green, and what that means is like every generation there's some sort of like elemental being that controls the Green. There's one for the Red, which is I think Animal Man is like the current avatar of the Red, and that avatar just controls animals, like humans, animals, like. And then there's an avatar of I think it's of the Black, who controls the dead. But yeah, Swamp Thing is, I don't know if it's currently the same situation, but yeah, for a while he was like a god of anything plant life, anything plant related. He could, he could let his body decompose and die, and then pop up anywhere on Earth as like he'd grow out of the ground and like, so essentially it's teleportation. But yeah, he can produce himself anywhere, basically. Even
Gotcha.
Even he can grow out of the floral bacteria inside of a person.
Ew.
Yeah.
Now I'm picturing like as one of the Evil Deads where like his twin grows out of him. So I'm picturing like a tiny Swamp Thing head growing out of my shoulder right now.
Yeah.
That's gross.
Yeah. Yeah, Swamp Thing's a fun character to just dive into, I think.
Yeah, he seems like he's because I always thought he was designated to the swamp, like, and was pretty much useless, like in the city. So knowing that he could come out of any bacteria,
yeah, there's a great 2-part issue where his girlfriend Abby Arcane, she ends up in Gotham City for one reason or another. Well, actually, she was arrested because someone found out that she had been, having relations with the Swamp Thing. And so she was being put on trial for like, essentially indecency, something like that, like, because it's like some sort of, she's having, sex with a monster, that sort of thing, something non-human. And so she's, being held in jail, waiting her trial, and, Swamp Thing finds out about it and doesn't take too kindly to the fact that she's been apprehended. And so he goes to Gotham City and basically holds the city hostage, and using the parks that are there, and like I said, the bacteria in people that is essentially his plant life, molds and mold spores and that sort of thing. And Batman has to get involved, and it's a really great 2-part issue, and I would definitely recommend people checking those issues out for sure.
So does Lois Lane get put on trial for that?
Well,
Superman's
actually,
not human.
Yeah, Batman brings that up when it's kind of like an epilogue at the end, and he says, because someone's like going on and on about how it's indecent or whatever, like talking about the fact that how can we let this person go? She's having relations with this thing, and she's like, well, it's pretty common knowledge that somebody on the Teen Titans is seeing another member, and he's like, I think they're descended from cats, or because she's like an alien or something. And then he talks about and maybe you want to talk to the one from Metropolis, bringing a Superman into it, and the guy's like,
The one from Metropolis.
Yeah.
I feel like you can't say Superman's name, kind of like the F word in a PG movie or something. Like,
no, he was, it was
beating
just
around the bush or something.
Yeah. It was just a good intimidation tactic from Batman.
They can't say it goes against nature because he is nature.
That's right, yeah.
So
yeah, and in the issues, the way that they depict them, they're not like having sex, but he produces these they look like sweet potatoes, just these tubers, I think is what they're called, and she eats them, and then it produces like this euphoric state where they're both like able to kind of mind meld, just get very like personal on a mental level, and that's essentially them having relations. So I don't.
Okay, that's similar to Demolition Man.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
They're not actually doing anything, but they get the feel of it mentally. Okay.
Yeah.
I did not know where you were going when you were like, he can produce these sweet potatoes and tubers. I was like, oh, good God, where are we going?
Yeah.
That's some hot talk. You can't get anywhere else.
What is this, Real Comic Heroes After Dark? Did you watch any of the, I don't know, I think it was HBO, the Swamp Thing TV show that they put out for a little while? I checked out like the first
Saturday morning cartoon. That's about it.
Okay. Yeah, I never did see that.
I never saw like a... Oh, okay.
The HBO show is what I saw was pretty good. I think I watched 3 or 4 episodes and then heard that they canceled it after like 10 episodes because it was, I guess, really expensive to make, and so they rushed the end of the production so that I think that they put an ending on it. They didn't just, cancel it so that it is open-ended or anything. But what I saw, I really liked. It was very much a horror show, going into that aspect of Swamp Thing stories, so
Gotcha.
which I really like.
Yeah, I know I've mentioned this before, but I always, as a kid, confused Toxic Avenger and Swamp Thing.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know why, but they're intertwined in my mind.
Yeah, depending on the art, you could kind of see, with just their deformed faces and that sort of thing, you could kind of make that mistake. I
think it was just a combination of things. Like, I'll also lump in Captain Planet because all 3 of them were in my brain at the same time.
They were probably all on around the same time.
Yeah, and it was all intertwined with environment.
Yeah. I was going to say that they were real hard up for cartoons in the early 90s with an environmental angle on them.
Yeah, I think Captain Planet's slacking.
Yeah,
I'm honestly surprised we haven't seen that come back.
I know. Yeah, it'd be hard to do Captain Planet. I mean, I don't know if you've seen the
He's
Don
basically
Cheadle.
the Avatar.
What's that?
He's basically the Avatar.
Yeah.
Earth, wind, water, fire, and, heart, but...
Yeah. With your powers combined. Oh, man. I watched a lot of Captain Planet.
He could do that easy.
Yeah.
Bring it back. All right.
I mean, we have the Don Cheadle version of Captain Planet.
We do?
You never saw that?
No.
You need to look up. It's probably all over YouTube. It was a College Humor series of shorts. It was Don Cheadle playing Captain Planet, and it's they go full in. They
that's cool.
Use makeup on him and everything. And it's basically like, what if Captain Planet came back now? And so all the kids are grown up, they're adults. It's he just goes crazy and kills everybody. So
nice.
Yeah.
I like it.
Check those out. Yeah.
All right.
Should we move on from Swamp Thing?
Sure.
Okay. Looks like it's going to be number 50.
You smack dab in the middle.
Number 50, Captain Marvel.
Yeah, the one that has constantly confused me as to who Captain Marvel is.
Yeah. Captain Marvel is it's a weird thing. First appearance, Wiz Comics number 2 from February of 1940. So I mean, he goes back to back there with Batman, Superman, and all the stuff from the early days. He was just basically a Superman knockoff, and
Gotcha.
So much so that national publications, who were putting out Superman at the time, they took them to court basically to say, like, you're clearly just, I mean, he's drawn the same way, he looks the same, he basically has the same powers,
Yeah.
So there was all kinds of legal nonsense with Captain Marvel. And then I talked about this over on the Marvel Events Timeline podcast because we got into the one of the, who was it? It was Carl Burgos, I think, later on created a character called Captain Marvel and just stole the name because the name was kind of like in up in the air. That ended up in a lawsuit, and essentially no one could use the name Captain Marvel for so many years. And then Marvel Comics, like in the 70s, created their own Captain Marvel. And at that point, like DC, who now owned this Captain Marvel, couldn't use the name Captain Marvel on their the covers of their magazines. So that's why all Captain Marvel DC comics all say like the power of Shazam or just Shazam, you know. So it's a weird. I'll share that link.
Confused.
Yeah, I'll share the link. There's a really good Nerdist article that talks about like the 9 versions of Captain Marvel and just how like convoluted the name of that, you know, that name is or whatever. So, but yeah, this one it's you know, it's, if you've seen the movie Shazam with Zachary Levi as Captain Marvel, you know, he's the kid that says the word Shazam and turns into Captain Marvel. It's a cool, like, kind of, depending on how it's portrayed, it can be like big, you know. Yeah. It's kind of what that Shazam movie kind of feels like. So
yeah, I was thinking it was more that side than the MCU Captain Marvel.
Oh yeah, completely different.
I wasn't sure. Yeah, so one's a age-shifting human, and the other's a alien-infused energy source thing.
Yeah, you got it. Know. Yeah, no, I mean that's pretty good description.
Okay.
So this Captain Marvel, you know, it's Billy Batson who stumbled into, like, I don't even know, it's the wizard Shazam, like his cave, and it's like Shazam stands for, he's like the strength of Solomon, or something, the wisdom of Solomon, the strength of Hercules,
something with Aphrodite.
Aphrodite, okay.
No, I have no idea.
Zeus.
I'm just trying to think of them.
Yeah, I mean, it's something like that. But Zeus, and that's where he gets his lightning, kind of what he says, Shazam is a big lightning bolt. I don't know. But,
so is he then tied to Wonder Woman in some way? Because isn't she related to all those people? Like,
she's the daughter of Zeus. But no, I mean, Captain Marvel isn't. He's not related to.
Not related as in like brother or sister, but more like, are they like intertwined in the same kind of world?
I mean, like, probably, you know, they're all
aware of him.
Yeah, I mean, they're both DC Comics at this point, so I'm sure they've crossed paths, you know, many times. I'm sure.
Because I assume there's been a slew of Captain Marvels, for lack of a better way of putting it.
On the DC side, you know, this original Captain Marvel like brand, there was like a family of Marvels. There's like Miss Marvel and Marvel Kid or something like that. And they kind of play with that in the Shazam movie at the end when all of his friends get powers. Yeah, that's using that idea.
Because I'm like picturing like throughout history, there's been being, or I don't know, but it's a complicated character.
Yeah, I've not read enough with Captain Marvel in it. There is probably the one that stands out to me is Kingdom Come, which I haven't read that though in close to 20 years probably, but it's a really beautiful DC, you know, graphic novel. It's like hand painted, like every page is hand painted by Alex Ross, and it's kind of set in the future. Like Batman is old, Superman is older, and Captain Marvel is like, he's kind of the top, you know, call if he becomes a bad guy, but he's just like the top cop, you know. Everyone kind of has to take on him, I think. And he's essentially looks the same because his Captain Marvel form is immortal, you know. I mean, Billy Batson has aged, but essentially he's aged to look exactly like Captain Marvel does, because like that's his
exactly
future
what
self.
I was kind of thinking.
Yeah,
is I'd like to see a story if there isn't where he is either really old
Yeah.
and he stays a Shazam, or if he leaves the Shazam state, he dies because he's so old.
It'd be cool if it was like
So
an
he's
old
just
man
stuck.
in his 90s, and then he says
Yeah.
Shazam and becomes the younger, Captain Marvel. Yeah.
And then he's like, I'm never turning back.
Yeah, and that I wouldn't be surprised if they've done that before.
Yeah. It would just be hilarious. He'd be like, Shazam! And then boom. He's like,
Yeah.
I'm not going back to that old thing again.
Right.
But then he has to save the day, and then he dies.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't know enough about Captain Marvel to, like I said, I've only read him a few times, and I've seen that movie. It's good.
Superman's
It's fun.
Powers, right?
What's that?
Except he's got Superman's powers, except for like
Yeah.
some of the weirder ones, like X-ray vision and heat ray eyes and stuff.
Right. I think he has all of the physical powers. Speed, flight, strength, that stuff.
His Shazam lightning that he can say his name and hurt somebody or something.
Yeah, I don't think he can control lightning at all.
No, I mean it was more
No,
like
right.
if he's getting held, he can say it.
Yeah.
And then hurt somebody.
Yeah.
Or get him off of him. Yeah. Okay.
I think so. Yeah.
Like it only hits like where he is. So
Right.
He'd have to be like holding or being held. Yeah. I mean, I like the movie. That was cool.
Yeah. It's fun.
I always thought it was kind of creepy in the cartoon, like the Justice League or whatever it was.
Oh yeah.
That there was like this, like I always thought it was creepy if like people don't know he's a kid.
Right. Yeah.
Like I don't know, it's just weird.
Yeah.
It was kind of like the movie Big, where there was like a love story.
Oh right. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
It's kind of like that creepy vibe I don't like about it.
Yeah.
But aside from that, I thought it was pretty cool. All right, I'm 2 for 2, man.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we can move on from
Roll.
Captain Marvel. And that'll bring us to number 16. Aha. Not really a hero, but number 16, Rorschach from Watchmen.
Oh, it's a complicated hero question mark.
A bit. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about Rorschach being... I mean, he's definitely one of the most popular comic book characters, and he does do some heroic stuff by trying to stop Ozymandias from, carrying out his kind of evil plan, but the guy himself, like, he's racist, he's homophobic, so...
Yeah, he's very militia-esque.
Yeah, he's
one-man
very
militia.
right. Yeah.
Yeah. But he kind of reminds me of a really screwed up and destitute Batman.
Oh, I was thinking Punisher.
Oh, okay, I can see that.
Yeah.
Because he seemed like a detective of sorts to me with his
Totally.
trench coat, and it
Yeah,
just made me think of Batman, and he's mortal
for
and,
sure. Yeah.
Wears a mask to
Yeah.
spook people. I do like the mask that shifts. That's kind of fun.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like a
No, that's
hypercolor mask. So.
That is great. It was like he was Walter Kovacs was working in a textiles plant factory, and one of their clients was this hugely famous fashion model, and they had this fabric that essentially it's like multiple layers of fabric with this shifting I don't remember what they call it, polymer or some type of like liquid trapped between the layers of fabric, and it was constantly moving, and it would react to like skin, like warmth, but it was always shifting and morphing, and so that's the in universe like explanation for the face. Like he took a chunk of this fabric because they made this dress out of it, and then she never came to collect it, and so he took the kind of leftover material and used it to make that mask.
That's cool. Yeah, I mean, there's not much about him other than he's like tenacious and
yeah,
really
no, he's
good at spying on people, I guess.
Yeah, he'll do anything to kind of go to any lengths to track down whatever he's investigating. So he goes back to a character that Steve Ditko created. It's a character called Mr. A, and I'm trying to remember, like, he's Mr. A, and what's the character that doesn't have a face. We already talked about one version of it.
Oh, yeah. He's a detective with no face. He's got the trench coat.
Yeah. What is that character's name?
Anonymous? I have no idea.
The Question.
Okay.
So Rorschach, like when Alan Moore created Watchmen, DC wouldn't let him use old DC characters like he wanted to, because Night Owl was going to be Blue Beetle, and the comedian was Peacemaker, who's now, they're using for HBO.
Yeah.
Dr. Manhattan was going to be Captain Atom.
Okay.
So several like DC characters that weren't really being used all that much. Blue Beetle, I think, was still in, kind of in rotation, but the rest of them were kind of just these old characters that no one was really doing anything with. And he basically was using, I don't know if it was Mr. A or the Question that would have been Rorschach, but that's who he's based on.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
But I mean, I like reading Watchmen, and my opinion of Rorschach had changed, from the first time I read it to when I've read it more recently, and that just comes with age. When you first read it, you read him as this kind of, like you said, like a Batman type, like low level Batman sort of character, the detective, and you think he's really cool, and like he's just savage and that sort of thing. And he gets some cool like dialogue and moments and things like that, like when he's in the prison and breaks the dude's hands and covers him in grease and says that he's not locked in here with them, they're locked in here with him, and that sort of thing. But then like the last time I read it, and especially like I did Watchmen Minute, so I went through that movie 1 minute at a time, and like you see the character much differently now. At least I do. So
Yeah, he's a little too close to home, like with reality.
Well, and that's like, did you ever watch the HBO Watchmen series?
No.
Okay, they took the idea of Rorschach and presented it like there's this group of homegrown domestic terrorists, right? They're super racist, they're ultra conservative, and they adopt the kind of the icon of Rorschach. They even wear masks like his. They don't shift and morph and everything, but they think that he is like, well, we're doing what he would want us to do, right? By targeting minority groups and that sort of thing. And so you can see how like in that Watchmen universe, it's set like 30 years later, and like, if someone found Rorschach's journal, they would, take on, continue his work in that way, So, yeah. Super interesting character, and I like what they've done.
He's complicated.
Yeah. There's a Rorschach series, comic series that, what's his name? Tom King did the last year or two. I didn't read it. I've not really been into the continuing like Watchmen related comic series that they've come out with in the last couple of years. They did a story called Doomsday Clock, which was like also set like 30 years later or something like that, where like the DC Comics universe and the Watchmen universe were like kind of crossing over with each other. I never finished that story. Essentially, it just seemed like they wanted to have a fight between Superman and Dr. Manhattan. So I don't know. I don't know how that series ended. And then they did, like I said, a Rorschach series, but I know even less about that one, so I don't really can't really say what it's like.
I don't see how Superman would actually be able to beat Dr. Manhattan.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, Dr. Manhattan can go down to the molecular level and come back. Like,
yeah. I should finish that series because I am curious to see how they do that, and I may be completely wrong in it seeming like it boils down to a fight between those two, but I'm pretty sure that's how they kind of marketed it.
Yeah, just picture him figuring out how to shift his molecular structure into
Right.
kryptonite or something.
Yeah, he could create kryptonite out of nothing and just kill Superman.
Yeah.
You know, so
Yeah.
yeah,
Dr. Manhattan's the most overpowered thing I've ever seen.
yeah, but he works
He's
in that
basically
story.
anything.
Yeah.
Uh,
That's kind of why I like Watchmen being set in its own like bubble,
Yeah.
you know, because if Dr. Manhattan was just in the DC universe, you know, proper, like he would be the most unstoppable thing, you know. But
yeah, I mean, the only thing that could take him out would be like antimatter or something. I don't know. I don't know.
I don't even know. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. There's probably some BS energy source that could do it somewhere in the universe.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
Black Hole Man
Ozymandias
or something.
figures out how to get around him in Watchmen by flooding the kind of using tachyons, which are like particles that travel back and forth through time, and somehow it distorts his vision of like what's going to happen in the future. So Rorschach. It's weird having a character that really has been in so little at this point, you know. And I trying to remember what year this IGN list of 100 comic book heroes. Like I forget what year this was all put together because it's a bit of an older article.
Yeah. I was thinking it was close to the movie's release or something.
That's what I was thinking because the movie was 2009. I think this might have come out like 2006. So
Oh, okay.
maybe I'm wrong about that. It might have come out after, but either way. So really there wouldn't be that much like Rorschach content to really base that on.
Yeah.
It basically would have just been the graphic novel and then maybe the movie, depending on what year this article came out. So kind of interesting.
Yeah.
I really like the performance that Jackie Earle Haley brings to playing Rorschach. Like he is a great performance in that movie.
Yeah, it's creepy how similar he looks to the graphic novel version.
Yeah.
Like I was just impressed they found somebody that could actually kind of get close to that.
Yeah.
And could act.
Yep.
I mean, that's extremely narrow like margin
Yeah.
for finding that person.
Yeah. I'm glad they didn't try to go like Hollywood leading man type, with that character. It was right to go with someone, kind of unknown. I mean, he was kind of big in the like mid 70s, I think, with like he was one of the Bad News Bears, one of the kids.
Yeah.
And then had some success in like the early 80s, I think, and but wasn't like a huge name or anything. So I don't really have much else on Rorschach. He's interesting character, for sure.
All right, one more.
Yeah, looks like it'll be number 33. Number 33, Nick Fury. You know that guy.
Yeah. Yep. He's the guy that has an eye patch and just pops in to say hi, and that's about it. I don't know.
Yeah.
He bores me, honestly.
Oh, really?
He's just like, he reminds me of Charlie's Angels, the guy that's just on the voice box.
Charlie or Bosworth or whichever.
Yeah, I think it's Charlie.
Okay.
But he's just, this person that's orchestrating, and there's not much else I know about him.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's got a backstory, like
oh man,
why he lost his eye and like all this other stuff, but that's all I know him as is just this exposition rando guy.
Yeah.
So
he goes back to Sergeant Fury #1, May of 1963. So he goes, I mean, he's, almost at the start of the Marvel universe, comic book wise. And he was in some old, World War II comics that they were putting out, Sergeant Fury and the Howling Commandos and, stories from like old war stories from World War II. And then they introduced the concept of like SHIELD, and that it's like this, CIA, ultra, spy. Like James Bond was big at the time, so they were putting out like he was part of SHIELD, and they were always fighting against was it Hydra at that point or AIM? I forget, but Probably both.
I don't even know AIM really. I know Hydra more.
Yeah.
AIM, I think I know from the Marvel video game that came out.
Yeah. Yeah, but basically, if you wanted to read spy comics, from Marvel, it was Nick Fury, and I tend to skip those issues because I've been going through all the old comics and reading them in order, and for the longest time, they pair up Nick Fury with Doctor Strange, so like Strange Tales would be a split comic. Like the first story would be either Doctor Strange or a Nick Fury story. So I always skip the Nick Fury side of the issue, just because it's so trippy and super oddly, like, I'm just not into spy comics.
Gotcha.
Yeah, he's just the Marvel's like top spy. You never know with him if it's really him or he's like Doctor Doom in that he'll use Shield calls them life model decoys, as opposed to like Doom, who uses Doom bots, and you never know if it's like really him or one of his robots. But yeah, with Fury, he'll use these life model decoys, and they're just androids. They're just like replicants or whatever. Weird. He pops up now and again in various Marvel comics that I've read over the years. He's I'm kind of like you. Like, I don't care about Nick Fury all that much. Like, he's not a character I'm interested in. So
he's basically like a spokesman, cheerleader for the Avengers' existence within the government, I guess.
Kinda. Yeah, I mean,
it.
I will say, I like how they used him in the MCU. I love that they used Samuel L. Jackson to play him, because that goes to the Ultimate universe. In the 2000s, Marvel decided, hey, let's make this Ultimate line of comics, and we'll basically restart the entire Marvel universe. And in that version, Nick Fury is a black guy. He happens to look exactly like Samuel L. Jackson in the comics. Okay. Even so much so that they have a conversation about it. They're talking about, like, who would play me in a movie, and I forget who, Captain America or Thor or somebody says, like, oh, I'd be played by this such and such, and someone or Nick Fury says, like, well, I'd be played by Samuel L. Jackson. So then years later in the MCU, they cast Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury, so it was perfect, that they did that. But
that's funny.
Yeah, so I do like the MCU version of him. I like the little. I'm glad they haven't done a Nick Fury movie.
I guess the closest has been Marvel. Captain Marvel.
Yeah, that or like he's in Winter Soldier, I think, quite a bit. Or he's kind of a big part of that movie. He gets a lot of screen time there. I think that's enough. Like, using him in various movies, I think is good.
Yeah, he just didn't see Hydra was within his own organization for ever since before he joined, I guess.
Yeah, infiltrated for like
a
decade or whatever. Yeah.
But, yeah,
we haven't gotten. We're approaching the David Hasselhoff Marvel like Nick Fury movie that we are going to do.
What?
Yeah. They did a Nick Fury movie in the. I mean, it had to have been 2000, 2001, maybe 99, somewhere around there.
I have never heard of that.
Oh man, I want to say it was like a TV movie, pilot kind of thing. Like, it was meant to kick off a series, I think. But David Hasselhoff as Nick Fury, which is not just visually not bad casting. Like, he would have been coming off of Baywatch, so kind of that older David Hasselhoff, but still like kind of fit,
Thanks.
Yeah, I've never seen it, so I actually do kind of want to do that one. So
I don't know. I just watched Knight Rider.
Oh yeah,
I'm not looking forward to it.
Like, just a random episode, or
I watched the pilot, like
okay.
It's almost like it's a TV movie, basically.
Okay, yeah.
To introduce Knight Rider, because it's on Netflix now, and I was like, oh, I should check this out. I got to see how horrible it's aged. And
yeah,
Woof. So I am not looking forward to it. I think he peaks as a stunt casting cameo, and that's where he should stay. Like in the SpongeBob SquarePants movie.
Oh, right. Yeah.
But outside of that, yikes.
They did a weird thing with Nick Fury in the like present day Marvel comics. Because the Ultimate Comics and the MCU version of essentially Nick Fury is Samuel L. Jackson. Like that version of Nick Fury became so popular that in the Marvel Comics universe, it was like you still had the older white version of Nick Fury. Oh. So what they did was they I forget how it played out, but essentially Nick Fury became the Watcher, who was, if you've seen like any of the What If stuff on Disney Plus, or basically he just took that role essentially, and then it was revealed, Nick Fury has a son named Nick Fury. He's black and also has an eye patch. So essentially the regular Marvel Comics universe has that same, Nick Fury, but now he's just like, he's his son. So, yeah.
Comic books are a mess.
Silly shenanigans.
They've been around too long.
Comics.
There's too many like iterations and versionings and non-deaths and death. Like, I don't know. I'm just kind of like, whatever.
Yep. That's comics.
I don't know. I weep that these in like say 1,000 or 2,000 years are gonna get confused with Greek mythology.
I hope that's the case.
I know it's gonna be so messed up.
Yeah,
because I always wondered that if we misinterpreted Greek mythology and it was really like comic books for back then. Because it's like so intertwined at this point.
Right.
Comics have taken from that. It's like, maybe we're back to where it really was.
Right.
So, they're in like,
sit down, kids. We're gonna tell you the tale of Nick Fury.
Oh, good Lord.
That's a pretty good lineup for this episode. It's Swamp Thing,
it was all
Captain
50 and above.
Yeah. Swamp Thing, Captain Marvel, Rorschach, and Nick Fury.
Yeah, I'd say it was a weird lineup.
Yeah. I mean, Swamp Thing can be heroic, but is more of literally a force of nature and just kind of, isn't out stopping crime, criminals. Captain Marvel is your straightforward superhero.
Yeah.
Rorschach, I would not.
Misguided force of nature on his own. I guess.
Nick Fury is more of the superhero type. He's just more fighting like spies and that sort of thing. So
it's a weird lineup
for sure. But what have you been getting into lately? Anything to recommend?
Let's see. I'd say, what was the last thing?
We just watched Eternals.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, we did both watch Eternals, and
it was a movie.
We both came to the same concept that it's more interesting to see what happens after than actually the movie.
Yeah, it's a good setup. Like, I definitely want to see what they do next. But it was
like the movie. Just at no point did I believe that they could take on the Celestial thing with the powers that they had.
Yeah,
I know they get amped up by it kind of being born, but that thing like came out hand in head and didn't cause the world to go into complete chaos. I don't
think all just the rising tides would have would have buried any coastal cities for
not to mention the fractures in the earth that birthed this thing.
It's fine. It's fine.
And some of those powers were super weak, like the illusionist and
I feel like they either needed fewer characters and better powers for each of them, or I don't know. I think that the comic book Eternals all can do the same things. Like they each
Okay.
have the same powers as each of, like, they all have, flight, they all have laser vision and speed, and like they can all do the same things. But for the movie, they decided
Just
to
broke it
give
apart.
yeah, they give each of them like a specialized power, I guess. I could be wrong.
Angelina's like
That's
a
what
good
I've
fighter.
heard. Yeah,
Like, I don't...
yeah,
The other guy's got smashy fists, and
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just, it was pretty weak. The other guy's like a technomancer kind
Yeah,
of guy.
yeah.
Like, he's like a wizard Tony Hawk. Or not
Tony
Tony Hawk,
Hawk.
Tony Stark.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be cool. Dude on a skateboard just making stuff. Yeah, I didn't get into it. I didn't know the characters either, but they, like, I don't know, the whole concept was just weird. It's like they're amnesia bots, and I don't.
Yeah, that whole aspect of it was like, what? I don't care for this.
But then they're kind of tied to Thanos.
Yeah,
because Harry Styles was his brother, but he's not purple.
Yeah.
Again, comic books. Figure your shit out.
I did read something about, like, why is
get it.
Thanos, giant and purple, and his brother is a dude from
Human
One Direction.
looking.
Like, I guess it's like Thanos was infected with some sort of version of what makes the deviants, like, which like were like the monster version of the Eternals. So Thanos is like essentially
he's an evolved version.
Yeah, essentially diseased,
Okay.
sort of. But
And then you got Kurt Russell out there doing his thing as an Eternal. Like, I'm confused. Because he planted something on Earth. This guy planted something on Earth.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, this is the crazier side of the Marvel universe that it's ambitious to tackle it, in the MCU. Like, I really want, Galactus and Silver Surfer, in done properly. But I mean, now you can kind of do Galactus because they've established these Celestials, and that's basically what Galactus is. So
he's a cannibal then?
Yeah, I guess so.
I'm so confused. It's like Kurt Russell's out there not knowing there's other things out there, so he's throwing his seed all over the universe, potentially screwing up another Eternal. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a dysfunctional Eternal family, I guess. But good lord.
Yeah.
Is it nowhere like an old Eternal?
Yes. No.
Okay.
A Celestial.
No.
Yeah.
Celestial.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Sorry,
Yeah.
I keep saying Eternal. I don't
Yep.
know. It's makes my brain hurt. It is. Wait, I don't know. When I first saw the main Shamaran, or what was his name? Sharam or
Icarus.
No, the god that they were serving. The Celestial. Asherim.
Asherim. Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. His look. I thought he was the same guy that was in Doctor Strange that he was fighting.
Oh, Dormammu
At first. No. Yeah, I was
No.
confused for a second. I was like, wait, what? Because it was just like a big thing.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I just didn't know what was going on.
If you watch Guardians of the Galaxy, and they're talking about like how the Infinity Stones were created, there's like a hologram or something that's like visualizing these Celestials, and there's one, he's kind of, I think it's the one that created the power gem, the purple stone, and he's big.
Okay.
He's looks like, that's the first time I think we ever saw a Celestial.
I thought I'd seen that image before, but okay, maybe it's from that.
Yeah.
Because and Peter Quill's part Celestial. Part Celestial or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it's
so
all
confused. I don't know how anyone can piece this together and do a cinematic universe. Kudos to them, because this is just
ambitious.
Yeah.
I
don't. And now there's gonna be like a knight.
Yeah.
And
somehow
blades involved. I don't know.
I know. Yeah.
Like his tutor. I don't know. A vampire hybrid and a medieval knight wizard family. I don't know. It's just so. Saying it out loud makes me sound like I'd belong in a hospital with Rorschach.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. Yeah, so
Well,
we kind of went off on a tangent.
yeah. I imagine telling, 13-year-old me, like, there's going to be a movie with all these crazy Marvel characters, and you're not even going to see it in theater. Like, you're not even going to care. You'll watch it on Disney Plus because it's available.
Yeah.
Oh, and Disney Plus is this thing where
Disney owns everything, by the way.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, Mickey Mouse. Yeah, he's a monopolizing tyrant.
A corporate rat.
Yeah.
All right, should we end it there?
Yeah, I don't think it's getting any better.
All right.
That was crazy.
Well, until next time, citizens, stay safe out there.
Thanks for listening to the podcast. Find the show on Facebook and Twitter at Real Comic Heroes. All music and audio are the property of their respective creators.